Raymond, we're going live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Miami Beach Urban Studios Live Art Talk. I'm happy to be here today with fiber artist Evelyn Politzer. My name is Colette Mello. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I'd like to thank the City of Miami Beach Department of Tourism and Office of Cultural Affairs for sponsoring these art talks. Evelyn Politzer is a Uruguay-born, Miami-based textile artist. She is a medium-driven artist whose work references feminism, labor, and identity. Recent exhibitions have included 12 to See at Art Serve in Fort Lauderdale, Ghosts of Louise Bourgeois here at Miami Beach Urban Studios, Women Pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse at the Cam Gallery, and currently her work is on view at the Doral Contemporary Art Museum in the exhibition titled South Florida Women Artists at Large. Her work is also part of the wonderful traveling exhibition Intersectionality, Diaspora Art in the Creole City, which started at the Corcoran Gallery in Washington, D.C., then traveled to the Harvey B. Gantt Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was lucky enough to see it, and now is on view at the Moore Building in the Miami Design District. She was a featured artist in the Rocking Chair Sessions podcast. She's also a co-founder of Fiber Artists Miami Association and is a 2020 Ellie's Award winner. Evelyn is completing her Master's of Fine Arts degree at Miami International University of Art and Design. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind everyone, if you have comments or questions, please put them through the chat function and we will get to them throughout our conversation this evening. Hi, Evelyn. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you.
Hi, thank you, Colette, for inviting me.
I'm happy to have you. I love your artwork. Can you just share with us where you are right now?
Yes, I'm at my studio. I have my studio at home. And this is a little bit of my private screening of what you see in my back. And that's also the wall that I do all my tryouts. And it's a cork board. So it's constantly pin and unpin with my different tryouts.
Beautiful. I love your work is so colorful.
Yes.
Normally,
yes.
Right? You use a lot of color. Yep.
Yeah.
So feel free to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay. Did I close it? Oh, share. Sorry. This is not it. Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. We were having some technical difficulty before everyone. I got pushed off. Evelyn got pushed off. So hopefully that was at the end of our tech problems tonight.
Wait, do you see the here? Hey, there. Can you see now?
Yes, that looks beautiful.
Yes. Good.
Beautiful.
Okay. So as Colette said, my name is Evelyn Politzer. I'm an artist, and thank you very much, Colette, for that introduction. And thank you also, Raymond, for the behind the scenes technology support. Today, we're going to talk about fiber arts in general, and also about my fiber art practice, because when I say I'm an artist, people usually say, oh, are you a painter? And I always say, no, I'm not exactly a painter, even though I paint with yarn, with threads, and with fabric. I also want to talk about the interdisciplinary aspects of the fiber arts, and finally the social aspects of the fiber arts, because that's something that has given me a lot of enjoyment. I always well, textiles and fabrics are something that affect us all throughout our lives. Since the moment we are born, we are wrapped in a piece of cloth until we die. Fabrics cover us, they protect us, and they also identify us. So that's why the fiber arts, I feel it's a universal language that everybody can understand. This first slide is a solo show I had at the Miami airport. This is the American Airlines terminal. And the reason why I wanna show this slide is because this was developed together with the curator, with Yolanda Sanchez, over a period of 6 months. So this is a good window into my art practice, that it's always about the slow stitch. This exhibit was called Knitting as Poetry, Reflections on the Natural Environment. And it consists of 2 large site-specific installations. The next one. What is
it? Raymond, is there a certain button she should?
Oh, there.
You found it. Okay.
There's so many buttons. Okay.
I love your drops, by the way. I saw your drops first, I think, at ArtServe. I think that's when we first met.
Yes.
I think. Well, I saw the ones behind you too. I don't know if you're going to talk about them.
Well,
yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So this window was, this installation was called Every Drop Counts, because we knew we wanted to talk about the environment and the fragility of the environment. So here we tackle all the problems that water have here, especially here in Miami, you know, with so much water. We have a lot of places where there's inundations, and on other parts of the of our earth where there's lack of water, and the water needs to be conserved. So I like speaking about this installation. I love a metaphor that a little girl told her mother when she saw this this installation, that she told her it looks like the sky is crying. So basically that was the message that I wanted to give from the beginning. And here I want to talk a little bit about the interdisciplinary aspects of the fiber art, because fiber art really blurs the line between art, craft, design, and architecture. The fiber art also comes in three different manifestations. It can be 2D, that's the way I started, the flat surfaces, then 3D, or here, as here in large scale installations, that it was site specific. It started with that 20 feet wide by 5 feet tall in the airport, and it grew. Here, I didn't know you saw it in North Carolina, Colette. This is
yeah, I drove up to, during the pandemic, we drove up to
exactly.
mountains for a cabin just to get away. And that was my only trip out into civilization, was to go to a museum. So I wanted to see that.
Unfortunately, the access to the Garvey Center was very, the Harvey Center was very limited because it was in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
And also, well, that fiber arts a lot of times works with chemistry, with biology, and with even with engineering. I don't know if anybody knows the artist called Janet Echelman. She does a huge air sculptures made out of nets, of colored nets that are the size of the scale of buildings. And she works with aeronautical engineers, with light engineers, and with computer science also. This is the other installation in the at the Miami airport, and this is well, it's about my nests. That some of them are abstract and some of them are a little bit more literal. But here is where the piece was mainly did with a knitting technique. That's why Yolanda called this installation knitting as poetry. Here, this was a series of nests that started there 3-4 years ago, and it's still going on. Well, some of them are, as you can see, more abstract. Okay, so next, one thing I also wanna talk about is being a fiber artist. I always thought the important thing in my art was the process of the art making itself. And with fiber artists, we always talk about the process versus the materials. And even though the process was important at like maybe 5 years ago, then I discovered that the materials was something that for me was very relevant in my art practice. So that is why I mainly work with a merino yarn, because of the colorful, as you say, as you told me, Colette, I am very colorful, but also because I found these materials that were all hand dyed in my country, in Uruguay. And this started as an organization to help rural women get jobs and stay in the rural communities, because in my country, in Uruguay, there are more sheep than human beings. So wool is something that it helps a lot of it's a good source of income for so many people. And I still remember being a small kid and driving around the countryside in my parents' car and seeing the hand dyed skeins of yarn hanging on clotheslines. So another thing that I really connect with is the way the yarn is, the wool is dyed, is hand dyed the same way in very, very small batches, the same way it was done 50, 60, 70 years ago by these rural women. And that, I thought, for me, it was something that gave me more of a sense of belonging, because well, even though I've been here almost 20-something years, I'm not from here, but then when I go back to my country, then they ask me, where are you from? So the wool is something, the material I work with, something that gives me that sense of belonging.
That sounds beautiful. So have you been to Uruguay recently, or is that a practice that they're still
yes,
hand dyeing and putting out on the lines to dry?
Yes, yes, exactly. It's still made like that. And I think that's what attracts me the most, because this hand-dyed products versus the industrially produced yarn is very different. Once you start working with the hand-dyed wool, they are not, two skeins are the same. They're all different, and you can see the history, the story of the people that dyed that yarn. Okay, so next, okay, so this is another series that I started also a long time ago. It did started, I didn't realize at the moment that it started more like a therapeutic way of healing myself, that I was so mad at the breast cancer disease that had taken the life of my mother when she was very young. So I simply started like intuitively hand crocheting and knitting all these breasts until I named them more recently, when I made friends with them again, the best friends forever, the breast friends forever. And that's the piece on the left, and the piece on the right. Once I made friends with this breast forms again, I still wanted to develop women's issues, and so I started to look at us with a little bit of humor. So this piece on the right, it's called Free to Hang, because it talks about us women, the age, and the freedom that also that comes with aging. And another thing, this is another series I did also with women's breasts, that I want to talk about us women, yes, but also the diversity of us all, in terms of color, of shapes, of age, and everything. And this particular piece was thought about us women in the arts, because I hand knit this. I think these are all hand knitted, and that I mounted the breasts on a vintage mattress springs. Probably the young generation don't know that they were real. These were springs that really were part of the mattresses a long time ago. That's why this piece is called a women's spring.
Well, I've seen the other two that you showed. I haven't seen this third iteration of those. And I think that was one of the first works I've seen of yours when we met at ArtServe.
Yes. Okay, so now I wanna also show you a little bit of what I do also, like for more, it's more called maybe surface design, because I want also to show the diversity of the fiber arts. These are very simple woven pieces of cloth, a cotton cloth, that I got inspired by the letter that Chief Seattle wrote to the president of the United States in 1855, when the president asked him to buy his land in Seattle. And that's why Seattle is named after this Native American. And he answered in a very simple, but in such a nice way, like, how can I sell the earth? The earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. And I got very inspired by his interconnectedness with nature and all the creatures that live in nature and his people. So they're what else did I? The air share its spirits with all the life that it supports. And will you teach your children that the earth is our mother? And well, it goes on and on, because the rivers are our brothers and the flowers are our sisters. then this is also a little bit more of a conceptual pieces of mine when I want to say something. And this was something that my little one told me when she was in first grade, and it stuck with me since then, and I wanted to make a statement about our educational system, no? And about stuffing our kids with things, activities to do, and not leaving them enough time to play. And that's the piece on the left. And the piece on the right, I hand crocheted with plarn. Plarn is a plastic yarn that, and then embroidered again, because I wanted to show a little bit of the techniques that are so vast and so broad that we can, I can talk forever about techniques, but I basically wanted to tell you that we have the historical techniques that include the knitting, that it's done with 2 needles, the crocheting, that it's done with only 1 crochet hook, and the weaving that I'm gonna show you a little bit later, and also all the cutting edge digital technology ways of techniques that we have from, there's 3D knitting, printing, and well, it goes on and on. But basically it's always about the craft of getting 2 pieces of yarn or thread or fabric together to form a wider piece of cloth. Okay, so the next series is...
Evelyn, I had a quick question. When did you start crocheting or knitting?
Oh, when I was a little kid, because remember, wool was so readily available in my country that everybody did something with wool. If you didn't knit, you crochet. If not, it was always, but it was mostly knitting or crochet.
And who taught you that?
It was an aunt, but also my mother was very crafty. She did all the crafts also.
I have a question. I'm sorry, let me find it. It was regarding, I'm not sure what it means. It's a ranya. Have you ever made a ranya using solely a crochet hook? R-U-A-N-A. I'm not sure what that is.
You what?
Ranya, R-U-A-N-A. Do you know what that is with a crochet? Maybe this person can explain what it is.
I think Rania is from, she has a yarn store somewhere out west, and there's a whole technique about how you knit or how you crochet, but I was never about the perfection of the knitting itself or the crocheting. For me, everything is more like free form. And for example, here in this next slide, that my tree huggers, it's really a very simple knitting technique that you knit and purl tubes. So it's always more about what I want to say, more than the perfection of the technique itself. That's probably where this question comes from.
They explain it. I'm sorry. It says it's like it's a type of cloth that indigenous people use in South America when it's cold. It's similar to a woolen poncho.
Oh, it's similar to a woolen poncho. Probably, but I think most of the woolen ponchos were woven. And I did weaving. I did tapestry weaving again in my country when I was like 15 years old. But again, it was always, you see, I think my next slide is about free form weaving, as I call it. And wait, where was it? So here, this shows you a little bit more of my intuitive way of working. When I started with this a rainbow eucalyptus that it was very nice, and it died, and I didn't want to get rid of it, so I embraced. I knit a pair of arms, and I just simply embrace it, because I always say that the perfect artist is Mother Nature, and we just need to embrace it. And
I love these. I love these. And you said you knitted them. I like the idea of the tree hugger, of course, and then the reference, of course, to the environment and
the whole thing, yeah. So, and here, because I used several different fibers, I want to talk a little bit about the fibers, and this is more of a in a broader sense, that fibers can come. I think Pip is around there. She can correct me because she knows more than me, of course, but they come mainly from three sources: the natural fibers, the man-made fibers, and what I call the RE fibers. The natural ones are the ones derived from plants, or the animal-based fibers, like wool is animal-based, silk animal-based, and the natural ones are paper is considered a fiber, and also linen and cotton, that we use so much. And all the synthetic fibers are the man-made ones that are polyester, nylon. And here, the palm on your left, that one, the palm tree was knit with a nylon threads. That's why I wanted to show. And the one in the middle were also hand knit with a colored wire that I'm always trying out different materials because I have a lot of fun with that. And the third type of fiber is the RE, that is the refurbished, the reused material, the recycled and the repurposed. And I'm sure there are more than that, it's escaping me right now. But basically, fiber art is about working with soft and malleable materials. Okay, so this one is another series that when you asked me, Colette, if I do political work, I don't really want to say I do political work, but if I do, I always like to send in a message of hope. That's why this wall was hand knit brick by brick, and then it was each brick was crocheted around it, and it has a message of hope. First, because it's green, and also because it's the ray of light. It's called a ray of light. And the next one is same idea, but instead of mounting in linen fabric, I mounted in this copper mesh that was also knitted, and it's see-through. And also because I wanted to give the message that yes, these walls were aimed at challenging the boundaries imposed between us human beings, but also the fact that I wanted to feel very, very light, and that you can almost walk through. And this I wanted, because you told me there are students that are listening now. I want to give them a little story about what happened with this. You mentioned that these pieces and also the drops are showing right now at the Miami Design District in the Moore 200 building, because I was 3 years ago, I was showing, I think it was my nests were being shown in the laundromat art space here in town. And when they were mounted, it was the last corridor. It's a great place, but it was the last corridor to the emergency exit. And so I said, okay, well, oh well, it's going to be fine. So I went to the opening, and the place was packed. So the emergency exit got full of people, and that's where somebody came up to me. It was Rosie Gordon Wallace. She came up to me and she said, I love your work. I want you to come with me to this exhibit that I'm mounting at the Corcoran Gallery in Washington, D.C. And from then on, it started a long journey. As you said, that exhibit that was at the Corcoran right across the street from the White House was afterwards shown in North Carolina, and now it's showing in the heart of the design district. So I guess my message for the students out there is never underestimate the power of the emergency exit.
That's funny. That's a great story, though. Did you know Rosie before that meeting?
No, I have never met her before.
Oh, what a lucky moment that you all met, because she's an amazing curator.
She's an amazing curator. She works towards Caribbean, especially towards Caribbean and Latin American artists, and she really wants to propel your art career, and she does it. She's
a big advocate for artists, definitely.
Oh, yes, yes.
So that's a great story, yes, and these are fantastic, yes.
Yeah, so these are now showing at the design district. Okay, so next I want to talk about the social aspects of the fiber arts that give me so much joy. At the beginning of the quarantine, I called 2 other fiber artists, and we formed FAMA, the Fiber Artists Miami Association. It's together with Aurora Molina and Alina Rodriguez Rojo. And this, I'm going to show this small video, but I want to point out that this first flag here is Colette, because
don't do it.
She also showed with us at the camp gallery. And this, I'm going to start the video and I'm going to show you. Wait, how do
I love this.
Let me, but is it on the full screen? Ah, there. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So this exhibit was organized with the purpose of celebrating the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote, the 19th Amendment. And this was our first call in FAMA, in the fiber art community here in Miami. And we got 40 artists and not so much artists that wanted to exhibit with us, and it was really a great experience especially for me as an artist, but also as I would say as a member of this group, because it taught a lot, and it taught me a lot to think about the we in favor of the me. And I think we are trying to also to transmit that to all the artists here that form FAMA.
It was a great experience. It was a great exhibition. Yes. It was really my first venture out into the world with the pandemic, to go to an opening, but we were all social distancing and we were all wearing masks. So.
Yeah, so this was organized exactly right before the election. And I think that got all the, mostly women, very empowered to really think deeply about the 19th Amendment. And here the great thing is that, well, as I told you, we had artists and we had people that were not artists that wanted to say something. But also we showed a lot of different techniques and ways of saying, of portraying the 19th Amendment.
Yeah, it was a very turbulent time because we were very worried about the election.
Right.
And oppression was going on. So it was at the top of everyone. Plus it was the centennial anniversary of women's right to vote. So it was really a good time for this exhibition. I'm so glad that you and Aurora and Alina organized it.
Yes, yes. But I also need to mention here that this was in part made possible by my Ellis award.
Oh, this is
Because,
the Ellie's. Okay.
yes, that well, the Ellis was for this. It was called the Threads of Resilience, and it was mainly about this. So here, wait, let me stop. How do I go back to, oof.
You might have to stop sharing and go back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, and I didn't bring it up in your intro, but one person was asking what made made you change your careers from law to art.
Oh, well, that was, for me, it was an easy solution, because when I moved to here to the States, I couldn't do anything about a law, because I had studied law in my country, and every time you move from country to country, you have to start all over again. So that's when I said, well, it's my time to pursue my passion about art, but also now you see also that, whoosh, where is it? Where are you? Let me see. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Why is it that this thing keeps coming back?
Do you want Raymond to share his screen?
Ah, yes, that'd be great, Raymond.
Raymond, can you share? Yeah. Evelyn, you'll just stop. Yeah.
Here.
Oh, you got it?
Stop share. I am still screen. Oh. Is it here? No. Should I do the new share? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it says that you're sharing your screen, but we just see a black screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I touch the...
So I want to go ahead and open it up for questions. If anyone would like to make a comment or question, you can go ahead and put it in the chat.
Google Slides here, but it's not it. No. Here it is, there. Good. Not this one. I don't want this one. Maybe because I stopped sharing. Is it coming?
It was circling, but nothing's happened yet.
Okay, good. Let me try another.
You sure you don't want Raymond to pull it up? It might be.
Yeah. If you
Raymond,
can.
go ahead and stop sharing, and then Raymond will pull up what he has. You can
okay.
just walk him through where you are.
Thank you, Raymond. Sorry.
That's okay. We've had worse happen, believe me.
Yeah, provided we
you have no idea what we've gone through.
Let's see where we were here, right? Or the next one?
The next one, yeah. The next one is the...
Oh yeah, the video?
Yes, but
doing the video, right.
And this is, well, I just briefly wanna talk about my piece, because it was free form weaving, as I was telling you earlier, that I really never follow a technique, because this is done off the loom, and it's supported by wires the frame is a wire, and it was done very organically woven, thread by thread. And I named this piece Past, Present, and Future Connections for the FAMA flag, thinking about us women and our right to vote.
Beautiful work. I remember it was just stunning. Beautiful.
Do you want to go? Okay, so this was the last work I presented at Pinecrest Garden. That this was curated by Carola Bravo and this was really very freeing for me, because I called it painting without paper. It was all the hand knit pieces of yarn, they're called I-cords, that were directly applied to the to the wall together with vines. And the subject of the this exhibit was nature, braiding nature. So I called it Nature's Map, because I really wanted to put myself in the shoes of nature and see how it felt from the from inside nature. That's why I call it natures. And I don't know, do we still have time for 3 more slides? What time is it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, good. Because I wanted to also, I have a lot of, in me, I did a certificate of interior design when I was living in New York. So the next slide, Raymond, it talks about the fiber art applied to the interiors. And it's a slightly different approach when I use the fiber art for the interiors, because we are always like, we are solving some kind, I wouldn't say problems, but situations. Here, this was a very double height ceiling, and we needed to do a chandelier, and I came up with this luminaire that was all hand knit with linen and bamboo yarns. And again, it was trying to to solve an interior design situation. And the next slide, it's the same idea. But instead of doing that, like more of like a perfect shape, organic shape, I wanted to do something a little bit more floating in the air. So I played with the linen yarn that it's very flimsy, but I also knitted with a copper wire, that I love working with copper wire. And finally, another application to this is a headboard that I did also with the same idea. And I think in closing, I always like to read a quote from Joseph Campbell, the American writer and mythologist, that says that when you follow that you should always follow your bliss, because when you are lucky enough to find your bliss, you're on the right track that had been there all the while waiting for you. And well, obviously I found my bliss, and I hope if anybody will get into fiber arts, they would find, I hope they would find their bliss too. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I love your work. And you know, that one work, like 2 or 3 pictures ago, it really reminded me, I think the artist is Ruth Awa. Yeah, it reminds me of her work. And that's just threads, or that's copper wire?
Which one?
This one.
This one is just threads. Copper wire is the next one. In fact, you asked me that you might ask me, what am I reading? And look what I have right here. It's the book that just came out.
Oh, I love her. I was going to get that book. Yes.
About her. I haven't started reading it yet, but she was not a fiber artist, but she did all the sculptural work with wire.
Right, it's with wire, but it's fantastic. And that's what that reminded me of. Oh, I love it.
Yes.
You'll have to tell me about the book later, because I'm going to order it anyway. So,
right. And then another book that I am reading and I really thoroughly recommend is this one about Sheila Hicks. It's called Weaving as a Metaphor. And the writer of the book, the book is the whole thing about her mini-me's, the small hand looms that she made as almost like notes that she always kept with her. But it gives you the metaphor for weaving and life, weaving and the democracy. It even talks about Plato and the Republic, and how the society is also woven together with the horizontal and the vertical lines. That
sounds so beautiful. I actually saw her at the Bath Museum.
Yes.
Did you see that talk she had there?
No, I wasn't here, but that was 2019, right?
Yeah, she had a talk, and I went to hear her talk because I love her work like you do. And your work reminds me of hers a lot. And you know, she uses indigenous material. She makes a point of making sure that she's using materials from indigenous communities and paying them a fair wage, and you know, that's very important to her. But I wanted to go listen to her talk about her practice, and she wanted to talk about architecture and her ex-boyfriends. So
well, that's why I mentioned the interdisciplinary aspects of fiber art, because she does really architectural work. This humongous like columns that penetrate
the big influence on her work. Yeah, she mentioned and she had these architect boyfriends, and that's all she wanted to talk about. So it was very interesting. She was a little bit spicy that day.
Yes, well, she's 80 something, and she's a great symbol of perseverance in the fiber art, because she started in the 60s, I think, and she never stopped. So.
Exactly. Well, I think I have some questions. We have a few minutes, so I'll get to some questions here. So we had the question about why you changed your career. You mentioned it a little bit. And then they asked further, was there a problem with your family? Did you encounter any resistance, or was your family supportive with your change in professions? Or
well, not really, because remember when I started being an artist, I'm already a grandmother, so my kids kind of make fun of me, and they always talk, and they say I'm a free spirit. So I guess I never had a problem with that.
That's good. So you had support.
Yes, 100%.
Good. I have a question. Where do you see art or fiber arts in the future?
Right. Well, I really think we are here to stay, fiber artists, and it's really considered more and more into a fine art. And sometimes I think in my personal practice, I need to approach it in a way that that I did learn a lot from Pip. The technique has to be very good. Even if it's free form, it has to be well finished. So it does make us look like artists and not as a craft people, no?
Nice, nice. And do you hand dye any of your work?
No, that I don't do it, because I want to support the as I told you, the rural women from my country, and because they do it so well, I don't have the need to hand dye, and I don't like to get my hands wet. That's okay.
So, well, thank you. I'm gonna thank you so much, Evelyn. Pleasure to see your presentation, and again to see you. Hopefully, one day. I know we participated in knitting. World Knitting Day or something. We've done that a couple times. So
that's something that always we organize it. It's the second Saturday of the month of June.
So okay.
And we have had knitters and crocheters and fiber artists and weavers. So
it's a mix of everyone.
Yes,
working on different things. And so you do more than crochet and knit. You weave some.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my beginning when I was 15 years old, weaving tapestries.
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for everyone to unmute themselves if they like, and we can give you some virtual applause. Let me see if I can do that. Ask all unto mute. And hopefully I'll see you soon. I haven't been vaccinated yet. I hope you have. I don't know. I hope we all get vaccinated soon so we can have face-to-face events. So thank you. Muted everyone. Please give Evelyn a round of applause.
Excellent. Love it.
Congratulations, Evelyn. You're
Beautiful.
amazing.
Thank
you. Congratulations, Evelyn.
Thank you, Fernanda. Those are my friends from the MFA program.